Welcome to American Education FM, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean Brooks. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Okay. First of all, there are a lot of odd things happening geopolitically, and I want to kind of not get this out of the way, but I do want to make mention of this because it is odd, and again, a few red flags to say the least. First of all, this whole business of the Golden Dome over North America, potentially Canada as well, not to mention the connections to Palantir that are taking place right now. Again, Donald Trump openly admitting that Palantir, again, can gather the information of Americans and whatever else. I don't like any of this. Seems rather odd to me. Again, it's more of a surveillance state as far as I'm concerned, just at face value. However, with that aside, if I was to be, I don't want to say blindly optimistic, but if I was optimistic to something, we would have to understand what Palantir's goal initially was, which probably wasn't very good. But then, who's to say that maybe it hasn't been turned or taken over, or basically given a different direction? To actually not just be a surveillance state per se, which again is not a good thing, and we don't want that, but at the exact same time, what if it's been turned into a weapon to be used against the bad guys? And again, I understand the entire debate back and forth, and that's why it's head scratching and it's confusing at the same time, because you see these surveillance state apparatus and tools and technologies go up all the time. And of course, they're sold to people as if they are, again, for our benefit. Surveillance cameras at intersections, for example. Of course, everybody sells those and says, well, those are, for your benefit. That way, if a criminal is getting away, we can catch them quickly and XYZ. I'm not doubting that aspect of it. The part that I don't like is that it can go from something like that and slide right into, well, we caught you speeding going through that intersection, and oh, by the way, here's your ticket that just randomly shows up in the mail someday. And we have a picture of you, and we caught you doing this, and that's the way that it is. So you have to pay it, or else, again, you'll lose your license. Whatever the penalty ends up being. Things like that, and that kind of a surveillance state, I think, is remarkably dangerous. We know that that's what a 15-minute city is really all about, but at the exact same time, we're theoretically already living in a 15-minute city. And again, I fully understand they have all of our information, our web history, your pictures, whatever it is. I mean, your emails that you send, nothing is private. Everything is saved, regardless of the amount of devices that you eliminate or remove or whatever. But I'm just wondering if there isn't another motive. Again, is the motive a positive one? Is it a negative one? Is it a little bit of both? I mean, I really have no idea. I've read Whitney Webb's work again on Palantir. I've reposted it again on my Substack before. It's remarkably shady. It's incredibly scary. But at the same time, again, could people like that and people in those companies be flipped and essentially be told, the military is going to take over your company, or you were heading in this direction as a company, but now we're telling you that you're going to head in this direction because if you don't, then your company will cease to exist or whatever. Again, I really don't know, and who's to say? We just don't have the inside baseball on what the real motives of those companies really are. I mean, there's the stories that get told, of course, and there's the investigative journalism that of course, reveals a great deal of the initial motives. But what's the long-term plan here? And again, who's to say, like I'm saying, basically, who's to say that that is the actual plan regarding a company like Palantir? So I don't know, but I am paying attention to it. And again, some of these moves seem odd to me. So I'll just kind of leave it at that, just a little rant about all of it. But believe me, I mean, I'm paying attention to it. I know that it's actually happening. So I just don't know what the inside baseball is on all of it. There's also this, and again, I know there's a lot of chatter regarding the pardons that Donald Trump's been giving. And again, you can get on justice.gov/pardon, and you can take a look at all of the pardons that he's basically given out here. A number of them, again, are conspiracy to commit fraud, conspiracy to commit securities fraud, more securities fraud, tax evasion, things of that nature. And again, a lot of the individuals most recently, it's very similar. There are even some drug charges, conspiracy, again, to distribute cocaine and a number of other things. Uh, you know, I'm not a fan of this either. I'm not a big pardon guy. If you did the crime, you do the time. Again, I fully understand that some of these sentences are probably a bit extreme. Some people, again, were given many years in prison, 10 plus, 20 plus. Some people it was just a number of months. It's just, I don't know, it's odd, but I don't necessarily understand it unless, of course, the entire pardon process is far more complicated than what I think. And again, individuals go through all of these cases with a fine-tooth comb. They say this judge is dirty, this prosecutor is dirty, and that's exactly why the person was given the sentence that they were given, or maybe again, they were actually innocent in the whole thing. I mean, who's to say? But it's a massive list. Again, as of May 28, 16 pardons and 6 commutations. Again, pardoning the January 6th individuals was an excellent move. Of that, I certainly don't disagree. And like I said, I'm not ruling out corruption regarding some of these other cases. It probably is 100% true. But I don't know. Again, it's just an odd move. Seems like an odd move. But they got a nice breakdown here of these individuals. They have links, hyperlinks to their actual names, what district, of course, where they were convicted or sentenced, the actual sentencing, the offense that's listed. It's well done. So if a person wants to bounce over here on this website and check this out, you certainly can. It's remarkably thorough, but yeah, I'm just interested in the actual process itself and how they make these determinations. Now I want to move on to this just very quickly too. Again, not going to spend a lot of time on this one, but I find this to be rather funny. Again, you talk about being able to shift the narrative in the blink of an eye. Donald Trump on his Truth page reposted another Truth page post from a @LLIJH where they said there is no hashtag Joe Biden executed in 2020. And then it says hashtag Biden clones, doubles, and robotic engineered soulless, mindless entities are what you see. Hashtag Democrats don't know the difference. And then just a bunch of truth sites and hashtags and whatever. This, of course, caused everybody, not everybody, but a great deal of people, of course, on social media to immediately start all the, I told you so's on Joe Biden wearing a mask and it not really being him and it's an actor and blah, blah, blah. I have to tell you, I've said it before. I'm just going to say it again. I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. I think it is Joe Biden 100%. I don't think there's any evidence that he's actually been executed. I think it's him. He's just had face work done, clearly. He had it done, after Barack Obama was in office. That's beyond evident. He's had the general chin and facelift and, skin on his neck pulled back. That's why his ears at the base of his ears look a little bit different, because that's the procedure. And then again, I've had people say, look, it's 2 different eye colors too. And then they show 2 different pictures of him in 2 completely different settings, and it looks like his eyes are different colors, but they're not. They're the same color. He's had the same color eyes. And again, I've also seen this too, which is, I believe, on Ancestry.com. It says that Joe Biden died in 2020 or something like that. So again, I just think a lot of it is purposeful misdirection. I think it's designed, again, to distract people. There's no indication, even in Q posts, that you're watching a fake Joe Biden. That certainly doesn't seem to be the case. I think it's a game. I think that aspect of it is a game for a lot of people, but it's just an off-ramp that is not necessary. So again, people can agree, they can disagree, whatever. It's, that's just my take. I think we're really watching these people. I don't think that they're wearing masks. I think that we need to see their public arrest. I think that would be a good thing. And like I've said, if riots break out as a result of one of these criminals actually being arrested and, again, brought to some kind of a tribunal or what have you, then so be it. But the response to that, of course, should be rather swift. It should be immediate National Guard, show up, round them up, toss them in the back of a truck, and, haul them away. But we need arrests. That's what we need. We need accountability. I've spoken about it before. It's the one thing we all long for here. And yeah, I just don't take the bait on particular posts like this, but it certainly riles up a lot of people, certainly on social media, gets them interested in reposting old posts that they've made from the past. And yeah, I don't know. It's a weird game. Again, I fully understand that the mask wearing is a thing. I mean, I know that that exists. That's been proven. Former CIA officials and specifically I forget her name, but she's a female, older gal. And she was one who, again, was in charge of whatever it was, the costume division of the CIA. And that, again, they would make up particular masks, certainly like the ones that you'd see in movies, like even in Mission Impossible movies. But again, an individual would not know if someone was around them actually wearing a mask, and they, of course, could be observing individuals and a number of other things. But she's even openly said that the masks are rather effective until, of course, you have to laugh or you actually sort of emit some kind of an emotion, in which case the mask basically gives the person away as wearing, in fact, a mask. So, no, I don't think Joe Biden is wearing a mask. I have no doubt that there might be a body double out there walking around in public, but at the exact same time, the one that we see and the one that we have seen on camera is him. He's just old. And that, I mean, that again is one of the funny aspects of all of this, is that the people who swear that, it's not really Joe Biden and that of course he's wearing a mask or something else, he's just somebody else in disguise, is they'll show a very young picture of Joe Biden and then a very old picture of Joe Biden, and they'll simply say, look at these two. They're clearly not the same person. I mean, come on. If you held up an old picture of someone, currently now as an elderly man, and then you hold up another picture of them when they're much younger, yes, of course, they're not going to look the same. Nobody does. None of us do. It's obvious. So, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. But speaking of weird, there's also this one. Again, I think this is far more plausible, believe it or not, certainly given the different moves that are being made here and how, of course, there is, in fact, a military operation taking place. Of that, I have no doubt. But again, we want public accountability, not just voting people out or resignations or what have you. I mean, we really do want some serious accountability here, which, by the way, just as a quick little side note, Charlie Rangel, one of the old New York representatives, died, I believe, last week, if I'm not mistaken. He was dirtier than dirty gets, this guy. But again, anybody can look him up, but I just remember coming across that headline and thinking to myself, well, that's interesting. He was apparently in his 90s. I had no idea about that, but he was dirty. And I remember him again serving in Congress and just being remarkably loud and obnoxious, certainly during Trump's first administration. But anyway, here's this particular post from GreatAwakening.win, and it was titled, "Is the Storm Getting Ready to Start?" It says, "Here are my thoughts, needs research." They said the following, quote, "I was watching the presser from the Oval Office with Elon and President Trump on TV Friday afternoon, and it caused me to think about a few things. The press conference was to honor Elon for his work with Doge and his special government employee time of no more than 130 days is at the end. They said, I had been thinking earlier about the Q team, Poppy Trump's post about the storm last night, and a few other things, and it hit me. First, let's catch people up." And then, of course, they go to Q post number 60. And Q post 60 was on November 2nd of 2017. Again, 7 years ago and 6 months. And it says the following, quote, "You can count the people who have the full picture on two hands. Of those, less than 10 people, only 3 are non-military. Why is this relevant? Game theory. Outside of a potential operator who has been dialed in with orders specific to his or her mission, nobody else has this information. Operators never divulge. Alice in Wonderland," unquote. So anyway, they went on with this particular Great Awakening post, and they said the following. It says, "Okay, of course, this number could have changed by now. 2017 was a while ago. Who knows if there are more non-military by now? The reason I bring this up is over the years, a lot of people have tried to guess members of the Q team, and I think we have a pretty good idea by now who some of them may be. Elon was a name that popped up frequently. Stephen Miller and Dan Scavino Jr. are pretty much assumed by now. General Flynn has been a possibility, and a dark horse that has always been a possibility, but few people know her, is Susie Wiles. RFK Jr. is also a possibility given his family and the things done to his father and uncle. For now, let's focus on these names. It said currently the people I mention have either walk-in privileges to the Oval or can make one call and get there. Look at the list. Susie Wiles, Chief of Staff; Stephen Miller, Senior Advisor, Deputy Chief of Staff; Elon Musk, Doge; RFK Jr., HHS; Dan Scavino, Deputy Chief of Staff. They went on and said most of those names would have been assumed to have always had walk-in access, with the exception of RFK and Elon. Isn't it interesting that both of them just happened to join the Trump team at nearly the exact same time, at the end of the campaign just before Trump was elected number 47? I know some of you are probably wondering why that matters. Consider this. It says every call, tweet, truth, text, email candidate Trump made was monitored by numerous agencies, likely not just from the USA. Them joining his team meant that they had private time, with Trump, and it wouldn't look suspicious at all since they joined his campaign. Fast forward to Trump being president now in 2025. He named RFK Jr. as HHS Secretary, a cabinet member, so he has continual access. Trump named Elon as Doge, so he also has continual access. Neither one would cause the press or the deep state to be suspicious if they were in the Oval with President Trump. The rest of the names on my list are also the closest people to POTUS and are in and out of his office all day. On to today, Friday, they said. Elon's 130-day limit is up, and he won't be in the Oval all of the time. He will still advise the president, but much of that will be over the heavily monitored phone. If he physically goes to the White House, it may be because he needs to talk privately. Sounds normal, but when you take into account the Poppy Trump tweet, we could be very close to action. It says that alone is big, but I also think that the whole operation is supposed to be completed by July 4th of 2026, our 250th birthday. That means the clock is ticking. They went on and they said, I think Trump was using the ability to have these people in his office, likely alongside the other people I mentioned, to finalize and adjust any plans and nail down a time, place, date. The storm will start. Look at Elon. How many times has President Trump said Elon's time at Doge is ending, but he will still be an advisor and still be around? He makes it a point to keep saying that. Perhaps it is to keep the deep state and press comfy when they see him in the Oval or on Air Force One. They said, now I know I called out 5 people, and Q mentioned that there are only 3, or that, quote, only 3 are non-military. Well, Q did say those up to 10 people are the ones that have the full picture of the mission. Out of the people I mentioned, I'd expect Dan Scavino would have a complete picture, but maybe none of the rest do. Stephen Miller and Susie Wiles could. The people on the outside might as well. RFK Jr. and Elon don't necessarily have to have the full picture, or they didn't back in 2017. They very well might have it now. They go on and said, I've seen Anons saying the military parade on DJT's birthday, Flag Day, U.S. Army's birthday, 6/14/25, June 14th, could actually be the start of the storm. Hundreds of tanks, probably Blackhawks and Apaches everywhere. It could be the perfect time for it. Add the recent stuff I mentioned and it looks stronger. Now let me add one more thing, they said. I looked at Q deltas on the 13th and the 14th of June. The 14th is a bust for deltas. The 13th has a fair amount of smoke, but it does have 2 particular drops I believe are fire. Post, 1495 and 4466. Both of those posts reference the Declaration of Independence, specifically reading it out, and certainly 2 separate sections of it. Let's see. It says, so again, what do you think? And basically, again, it's talking about abolishing a corrupt government, that we have the right to do that the American people and certainly good individuals in government have the right to abolish a bad government and a corrupt government, throw it out and start over. That would be fantastic. Again, removing all individuals from office immediately, and certainly again prosecuting the guilty and just kicking out the rest and starting from scratch, that would be a pretty damn amazing thing. In fact, I'd go so far as to say if that happened, then you would most certainly see riots. Of course, you would have so many individuals in the streets burning things down and complaining that, I mean, it's almost beyond comprehension simply because so many people don't know about real history. And that, of course, was part of the plan here. That was part of the evil plan, was, of course, to keep individuals in the dark about real history, real American history. I mean, hell, they, of course, don't bother teaching any of that in school. So if their instructors don't know anything about it, why would minors? Unless, of course, children themselves are doing the research and reading this kind of thing on their own, which hopefully they are. But again, it allows for certain action to take place, of course, and then reactions to take place when other actions take place, and the reactions are completely nonsensical because, again, people just don't know real history. So again, I understand people would say that's wishful thinking, that's not going to happen, but at the exact same time, I think something unprecedented, again, has to occur here. Again, as horrible as it is to say, I don't like the wait and see game just like anybody else doesn't like it. But with that said, this is such a broad operation that if we are going to see something, it had better be huge, and it had better, again, be something that shakes every American to the core. In fact, hopefully it would be, again, as valuable as the Q drops were, certainly when they were coming out on a worldwide scale. And it would shake up endless individuals in endless countries all across the world and say, look, America just did this. Why can't we? America just abolished their government and started over. Why can't we? And then just like that, they start canceling contracts. They start canceling, associations. Certainly, I think of the UN and NATO and all these other, transnational agreements and all this other stuff. Again, the World Economic Forum and the European Union, and I mean, you can go down the list. It's all of these organizations would instantly be canceled because, again, these governments would be overthrown, hopefully, and then you would be able to start fresh and start over. Just a complete, absolute reset from that standpoint, I think, would be a fantastic thing. But if that means, again, that we have to lead by example, and it ends up being our government that's ultimately abolished and replaced with a better one, not some new world order global government, which I know a lot of people are theorizing about and saying that that's all that Donald Trump is about, that's all he's doing, and he's just doing it with a smile on his face to trick people and everything else. I don't think that's likely to occur. I think, again, from a constitutional standpoint, we have the right to overthrow our own. And again, if it's not going to come from the citizens, because of course the military would then be weaponized against the citizens and they'd kill us, and that wouldn't be a good thing. But what if it came from the inside? What if the abolishment of, again, a corrupt government just came from the inside? That can certainly happen legally. And that right there is, again, something I don't think that many individuals have a firm grasp of. They would, again, scream the word dictator at the top of their lungs and cry themselves to sleep. But it can be done, and it's possible it will be done. But again, unfortunately, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Now on to education stuff. There's this. This is rather funny. And Sicily in New Mexico sent me this. It was titled, Teachers Union Files Complaint Against New Mexico School After Questions About Students' Immigration Status. This is fantastic. Here's a little bit of audio to go with this. This again is from KRQE News, krqe.com. Give this a listen in 3, 2, 1.
Local teachers union wants to know why a New Mexico school district is asking students about their citizenship status. The union has now filed a complaint against the district, hoping to get more answers. News 13's Chandler Farnsworth has that story.
We'd like to prevent it from happening again.
In an effort to prepare students for real-world jobs, Espanola Public Schools have used optional career readiness programs that help connect students with potential future employers. One of those programs is a standardized test called the ACT Work Keys Assessment. To take the test, students must provide personal information.
Collecting demographic information on students is not out of the norm, like if they're male or female, how old they are, their ethnicity, that type of thing. But that is normal demographic information.
What's not common are questions related to students' citizenship status. But according to a group of teachers with Espanola Public Schools, as part of the assessment, the district directed teachers at Espanola Valley High School to ask students for their country of origin and their alien registration number.
We were contacted by educators and their leadership from Espanola that Espanola Valley High School was asking teachers to collect immigration data.
According to Par Sanchez, a former teacher with 25 years of experience and someone who's administered standardized tests, these types of questions raise concerns. As the current president of the National Education Association of New Mexico, a local teachers union, she's taken steps to figure out who sent the directive and why by filing a complaint with the state. The district has until June 2nd to respond.
They were terrified to be asked to give private information about their students.
The union argues the incident goes against a bargain reached by the district and teachers union, arguing the directive is out of educators' agreed-upon work conditions. They also believe it violates the FERPA Act, a federal law that protects student privacy.
Our mission is to educate every child that comes to our schools, regardless of their race, ethnicity, country of origin.
Espanola Public Schools say they've started an investigation into the concerns and will take appropriate action if any violations are found. It's unclear who or why the directive was sent out. The district says they are unable to comment further during their investigation. Chandler Farnsworth, KRQE News 13.
The teachers union provided us with a quote from the ACT testing group that states, ACT does not ask for or collect information about examinees' immigration status. This is not a requirement for taking our exams and is not information we collect or use in any way.
First of all, this is funny. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious. This right here again causes a school district to completely show their hand and show everybody what they're really interested in. They're interested in, again, harboring illegal aliens. It's that simple. And it's not a FERPA violation. Asking students about their country of origin and whether or not they're a legal citizen or not is not a FERPA violation because you're not supposed to keep that information private anyway. Not to mention, if you're keeping that information private, chances are you are an illegal alien. That's the whole point. So again, their reference of FERPA is ridiculous because it isn't a FERPA violation. That's number one. And number two, as you heard the union individuals say, and falsely so, I should say, that it's our responsibility to make sure that we're teaching everybody, regardless of their country of origin and blah, blah, blah. No, it isn't. That's not your responsibility. If they're an illegal, they don't belong here. Period. Again, I understand that it's Supreme Court precedent, and yes, they're allowed to be in school. However, they're also allowed to be snatched out of school. That's allowed to happen too. Again, this is one of the things in society where these individuals, again, we walk among these citizens in our own country and they don't know the law. And when the law is explained to them, it's like, again, they just turn into Agent Smith from The Matrix and their face changes and they just get all weirded out. And the only thing you've done is explain to them the truth. In fact, you can see this almost daily, certainly on social media when it comes to these ICE raids that are taking place. Endless liberals are recording ICE agents arresting illegal aliens, regardless of their age. Again, they could be elderly, they could be anybody middle-aged, and they could even, again, be teenagers. But if these individuals are here illegally, then they are here illegally. That's the whole point. Again, when you engage in deportations of illegals, you don't just snap your fingers and then they're magically all deported. It takes work. It takes boots on the ground, people doing the actual work, knocking on doors, entering places, making sure that they're not going to be shot in the process, of course, specifically ICE agents. And then, of course, even arresting civilian individuals who are actual citizens of America for obstruction of justice if they get in the way. This is happening too. Individuals are running up to these ICE agents and hitting them and slapping them and saying, "You can't take these people away. They're citizens here, blah, blah, blah." No, they're not. They aren't. And again, being an ICE agent is dangerous work. Very dangerous. You don't know what these individuals are capable of, again, regardless of the age or regardless of their innocence or what have you. I mean, they might be a decent standing human being, but they're still here illegally. That's the whole point. It's not just drug dealers that are getting tossed out of this country. It's everybody, which is good. Again, they're making ample ICE arrests in the state of Florida, certainly on construction sites. So what? Again, they're here illegally. Come into our country legally. If you want to be here legally, do it legally. This is not difficult. It's a process. Yes, it takes time. Get yourself gainful employment in your country of origin. Stay there, work, file the papers necessary, and if you want to come back here, fine, come on back. But again, if you've broken the law in our country beyond being an illegal alien, well, you're not coming back. Again, this basic law for even your average American to be able to comprehend is beyond me. I do not get it. And then, of course, one more education story here. This also, again, I don't know what people are doing. I don't understand. I don't understand the constant law breaking here. It couldn't get more clear. The federal government has told you one thing, and you continue to do the exact opposite, thinking that nothing is going to happen. This is a perfect example, again, of a school that should lose all of its federal funding. And the individuals, again, associated with allowing this to happen should be fired. This can happen from the federal level. It doesn't have to exist just within the state. This is from Breitbart, and it says, "Trans teen dominates competition at Minneapolis Girls Softball Championship." So let me translate. A boy is pretending to be a girl and hurling fastballs faster than girls can. And this dude pretending to be a girl is remarkably tall, clearly stronger than the other ones. And that's it. And they're just allowing this individual to play. It says the girls' softball team at Champlain Park High in Minneapolis is celebrating this week after transgender pitcher Marissa Rothenberger, every single time, beat his opponents in back-to-back games, handing his school a first-time ever shot at going to the state finals. Rothenberger, who claims to have started transitioning at the age of 9 and stands several inches taller than the other girls he faces or plays beside, pitched a shutout against the defending champion Rogers High on Thursday, with the final game ending in a 1-0 score, according to the Star Tribune. What is wrong with people? Number one, again, they're allowing to play against a dude. I've been over this a million times. I cannot believe that parents, number one, are allowing this. And number two, the players on the team are allowing this to take place also. All for what? All for sports ball. All for competition. Because again, the opposing team, if they were to not play, they would of course have to forfeit, thereby of course allowing the team with the tranny to advance to the state championship, and then that would be that. And then of course, if that opposing team didn't want to play, well, then by default, based on, again, just forfeiture in general, that particular team with the tranny on it would end up winning the state championship without even having to play the last 2 games. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I just don't understand it. It's a violation of Title IX. It's a violation of everything. But this is allowed to happen. Here's another guy's breakdown of all of this. Again, you hear some of the audio from this male pitcher's coach along with some of the announcers. It's rather comical. Give this a listen in 3, 2, 1.
Meet Marissa Rothenberger, a male pitcher absolutely dominating girls softball in Champlain, Minnesota.
And the pitch. Rothenberger back in the fifth. Swing and a miss here first. 0-2 pitch. Strike.
Rothenberger, at 6 feet tall, appears to tower over his female competition. In this game on May 6, 2025, he threw 7 strikeouts and shut out the opposing team. Apparently, Rothenberger's batting against average is .128, meaning opposing girl players only hit 12% of his pitches, which is considerably better than elite MLB players. He recently had an absurd 14 strikeouts in a single game. What was really amazing was listening to the dense male announcers as they gush about Rothenberger's wingspan and how hard he throws it.
See how she whips it? The long arms is just such an advantage.
Wow.
The whip action of that long arm for Rothenberger.
He's a boy, guys. Get it? He's male. And it's cheating. Stop gushing. The male coach who coaches Rothenberger was gushing too.
Our pitchers do a phenomenal job. We have Marissa Rothenberger. They keep us in every game.
What's not to like about having a male ringer on the team? Except it's cheating, of course. Rothenberger is apparently hoping to get recruited onto a women's softball team in college somewhere, and I found his profile on recruiting sites. But hopefully this helps expose the cheater before he can cheat any more girls out of their opportunities, scholarships, and victories.
Again, filing a complaint with the Office of Civil Rights is remarkably easy. Just do it. You have the video evidence. You have all of these names of all of these people. They're openly cheating. I'm telling you what, it's just cult behavior. It really is. These people are delusional. No, they're not, Sean. You're just a bigot. Okay. Then I'm a bigot. I'm 100% fine with it. Honest to God. Even the teammates. I mean, even that dude's own teammates. What is wrong with them? Again, are they so self-absorbed and delusional that the only thing they give a damn about is wins in a game? That they too are willing to cheat? Because that's what that's showing. It's showing that even his teammates are 100% fine cheating in order to advance themselves. They're children, and they're telling everybody that cheating is fine and that they agree with it. It's disgusting. Again, are there no parents anymore? Does government and the fag agenda raise every child in America? What's happening here? I'm telling you, things like this will only persist as long as people allow it to persist. Just stand up and do something about it. For the love of God. Can we please just stop the nonsense? Kick the kid off the team. If the kid sues, who gives a shit? You have a case. We're violating Title IX by having this kid on our team who's pretending to be a girl. They should be in a mental institution, and so should the parents. Transitioning at the age of 9. That's the fault of the parents, clearly. There's no other explanation. Well, he just feels like he's a she and likes to play with dolls and grow their hair, and we encourage that kind of behavior. People like that belong in a padded room. I'm telling you, if not worse. There have to be some good people in that town who will fill out the paperwork, file the legal complaints, and stop all of it. Again, even if you're not associated, you don't have to be associated to just do the right thing. And of course, if anybody's curious, that entire agenda and that entire push to normalize all of that insanity, yes, it is satanic, but it also happens to be Jewish. So there's that. Okay. Moving on. 2 quick jab-related stories. Again, you talk about clear insanity. Why anybody is buying any of this is beyond me. First of all, though, before I get into those two, this was rather funny. Came across this particular post, and it had to do with this individual revisiting, or numerous individuals rather, revisiting all of the excuses as to why people are dying. And dying suddenly, and all the other headlines that we've heard. And again, these are all the news headlines that news stations and news outlets were running with as to what would happen if, of course, someone you know just dies suddenly. What's the real cause? Here was one of them. In fact, I'm just going to read a bunch of them here. The first one had to do with showering. It says, heart attack, the shower habit that could precipitate a heart attack in the healthy. So yes, cold showers are doing all of the killing, this person said. And then, of course, they're just laughing out loud the whole time. Experts warn certain sleeping positions could increase risk of blood clots and heart problems. Another one, new warning, caffeine increases risk of blood clots. Another one, so many young adults dropping dead from heart attacks. Now it's explained, marijuana did it. Another one, new sinister BBC predictive programming for young people dropping dead. Treadmills and exercise machines are doing all of the killing. Another one, urgent warning to gardeners as soil increases risk of killer heart disease. So if grandma or grandpa fall over in the garden, it's not the shots they took. No, it's the soil. Another one says, deaths from heart failure rise among young Americans. It, of course, has to do with too much stress on American youth. That's why they're dropping dead. Another one says, okay, what can I say? Heart problems in athletes are caused by referee whistles. I remember that one. Blowing too hard on a ref whistle, specifically referees dropping dead, that's why. Because they have to run up and down a field and constantly blowing into a whistle. It can cause a backdraft of air or something and blah, 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 and then they fall over. No, that's not it either. Another one here blamed warm weather. That's right, warm weather is why people are dropping dead. Narrative change to hide vax deaths. Researchers warn that cold weather can cause blood clots and heart attacks. Oh, now it's cold weather. That was a quick turn of events there. Australian news report, Melbourne's circulating temperatures causing gene changes and illnesses. Ah, yes. More weather excuses. And it just goes on and on. Cold showers, taking naps, drinking a glass of wine, having a cup of coffee, having an herbal supplement will cause you to have a heart attack and sudden death. Sweeteners are causing sudden death. High-protein diets causing a sudden death. Breaking news, the NFL says the vaccine is not to blame for players who had strokes on TV. Blames the way that they got tackled and blah, blah, blah. American Airlines, again, flying on planes is harmful to your health. Absolutely nuts. And now, of course, the WHO has recently come out here as of June 1st. As I'm recording this, the WHO warns new COVID variant, NB181, is spreading globally. No, it isn't. Because there is no variant, because there are no variants. It's a lie. Just like there's no COVID, just like there's no long COVID. Speaking of that, remember the YouTube personality that I brought up many years back? She goes by the handle Physics Girl. This woman is crazy, and her husband is equally as crazy. They live out in California, and she, of course, is multi-jabbed to the bone, swears to God she has long COVID. She was bedridden for like a year. Why anybody would even allow that is beyond me. And they made another video recently here of her getting out of bed and walking around, and she does different things now, but still has low energy and depression and mood swings and all this other stuff. All she needs is nicotine gum. I'm telling you, these people they're just delusional. They are victims of an actual cult. Instead of Jim Jones, it was Anthony Fauci. Instead of some pamphlet that they received in the mail and they all decided to go to a farm and drink the Kool-Aid, it was their television and Anthony Fauci on their television and everybody else in the media. And then they just again fell for it. Amazing. So she's still alive, but apparently remarkably miserable. And why wouldn't you be? You've poisoned yourself. You have a completely compromised immune system. And then, of course, her immediate excuse is, well, other people have long COVID too, and I've connected with them, and we're pen pals, and, now we're all in this together, and I'm not alone, and I feel better about myself. Honestly, it's cult behavior. Here's another one. Again, you talk about cult behavior. Australia. Australia records highest rates of aggressive cancer in the world. Quote, we don't know why. It says in Australia, bowel cancer rates are increasing among younger adults, with researchers unsure what's behind the deadly trend. What could it possibly be? It's shot taking. That's it. That's the reason. But remember, if you listen to Scott Adams, he would say, well, ChatGPT or Grok on X openly says, as far as the AI is concerned, that there's no correlation between shot taking and cancer rates. Is that right? I'm telling you, I don't know how they tie their shoes in the morning. I really don't. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end it there. Notice I didn't say anything about Gay Month, because I'm not going to. Not bringing it up other than just right there, saying it right there. Fortunately, a lot of funding for a lot of those stupid parades and all of those gross people is being pulled from one avenue and another, which is absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, unfortunately, all the crazies are getting together with their demonic children and vice versa and doing whatever it is that they do. So, yuck. Anyway, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, happy Constitutional Month. And I'll catch you on Wednesday. Peace. Thank you for listening to American Education FM. Make sure and check out AmericanEducationFM.com for more information. Take care and God bless.